I'm Murray Aitken, Executive Director of the IQVIA Institute. As 2024 draws to a close, I'd like to share some highlights from the Institute's research this year, in case you missed our reports or events that may be of interest. This content is available on our website and via the QR codes we'll share during this video. Oncology has long been an important topic to the Institute, and this year was no exception. We again held a symposium at the start of ASCO in Chicago, where we convened a multi-stakeholder panel of external experts from FDA, sites, and sponsor companies to discuss precision medicine and the use of real-world data to connect patients to clinical trials. The symposium came shortly after the release of our annual report on global oncology trends, in which we interpreted the latest data on the rising prevalence of cancer globally, oncology clinical trial starts, newly launched novel active substances, total spending on cancer medicines, and the pace of change in cancer treatment regimens, including checkpoint inhibitors, CAR-Ts, bispecific antibodies, and antibody-drug conjugates. We also held a symposium at the start of ESMO in Barcelona in September. The focus there was on strengthening Europe as a global center for oncology trials. We presented new research on the trends in country site use and invited a panel of experts to contribute their perspectives, representing patient networks, hospitals, life sciences companies, and the European Commission. We also found ourselves deep into research around radioligand therapies, an emerging treatment for certain cancer types and potentially other disease areas too. We held a public working session in the European Parliament in April, hosted by MEP Niels Gerking, and featured a multi-stakeholder panel of experts from across Europe. Our focus there, and in the report we published, was on the state of health system readiness and capacity in Europe for radioligand therapies, and pathways for patients to have access to this novel modality. We're also working on a follow-up report on this topic focused on patient referral pathways, slated for publication early next year. Still within oncology, one of our funded research projects focused on hematologic cancer opportunities for patient equality. Here we looked at trends in the availability of therapies for hematological malignancies across certain countries, highlighting patient access challenges and disparities. A follow-up event held at the World Cancer Congress in Geneva in September looked at the policy and funding issues, among other topics, through the lens of European and Canadian policy stakeholders who joined us on the panel. At the IQVIA Institute, we have an ongoing commitment to understanding and helping advance research and development productivity in the life sciences sector. This year, we published a report on rethinking clinical trial country prioritization, which included a novel country readiness score and algorithm developed by the Institute. The report looked at opportunities to diversify global clinical trials, including assessing trends in enrollment timelines, trial characteristics, and country utilization over the past 5 years, as well as recent shifts and consolidation in regional and country clinical trial allocations. We identified tiers of countries based on their infrastructure and operational readiness, as well as patient availability for trial participation. We also highlighted efforts underway in some countries to improve their competitiveness for trial sites. In addition to this report, we of course published our annual report on global trends in R&D, which this year highlighted a rise in clinical development productivity in 2023, driven by improving success rates, the adoption by industry and acceptance by regulators of innovative and technology-driven enablers to improve trial productivity, the launch of more novel active substances, and a recovery of R&D funding levels and deal activity after a steep decline in the year prior. This year, we also published an important report on cell and gene therapies, mapping the end-to-end landscape of activity in this fast-moving area, and laying out scenarios for its future evolution through 2030. The use of medicines globally and in the US is a constant focus of our research, resulting in multiple reports, including our two long-standing trend reports, the global use of medicines and the use of medicines in the US. The global report found that medicine spending worldwide is expected to reach $2.3 trillion by 2028 on a list price basis. We're seeing an increase in the outlook for growth, driven by more patients getting treated with better medicines, especially in immunology, endocrinology, and oncology. The report also found that medicine use in Latin America and Asia will grow faster than in other regions over the next 5 years. On the US side, we reported overall spending on medicines grew 2.5% in 2023, reaching $435 billion at a net price level, and reflecting a sharp decline in the use of COVID-19 vaccines and therapeutics. Excluding those products, medicine spending on a net price basis rose 9.9%, higher than previously forecast. This represents a significant acceleration in spending growth, driven by innovation and a shift toward greater use of older medicines that still have market exclusivity. Academic researchers play an important and complementary role to the work of the Institute. We've hosted a research forum for several years, and this year returned to an in-person event when we brought together more than 70 individuals in July in collaboration with Boston University to discuss ways to advance evidence with large data sets in high-impact health research. Specifically, we convened panels on understanding the science of obesity and multi-disease, advancing knowledge about social vulnerabilities, applying artificial intelligence to health research, and improving sustainable biomedical innovation. The year was full of other research and activities as well, including a webinar series focused on patient organizations and the dedicated people who lead them, a report on CMS prescription drug negotiations under the Inflation Reduction Act, and a special roundtable discussion ahead of the US election on health policy priorities for the next administration. And that's a topic we'll continue to watch closely and whose implications we'll be tracking in the coming weeks and months. And finally, digital health. It's a fast-moving area on everyone's minds, from wearables to apps to digital therapeutics and diagnostics, and the role of AI. We last published a report on this topic in 2021 and are pleased to publish a new digital health trends report this month. It covers an overall view of the digital health landscape, including consumer app trends, sensor-based digital measures, use of digital tools in clinical trials, remote patient monitoring, and much more. And given the depth and breadth of this topic, we'll publish a second report on digital health in 2025 that will look at the new commercial models and evidence requirements that are now shaping opportunities in the digital health space. So it was a busy and productive year for our team here, and we're grateful for our many external collaborators during the year, as well as our internal colleagues at IQVIA. And 2025 beckons. We have a new administration in the US beginning in January, which brings uncertainty and the prospect of significant changes. A life sciences sector that is still recovering from the funding bumpiness for early-stage companies. The enticing promise for artificial intelligence to bring both efficiencies and more efficacious therapeutics into clinical development programs. And global healthcare payers struggling to find pathways for enabling all patients to have access to the medicines needed to bring them longer and healthier lives. If you'd like to keep up on Institute activities as they happen, subscribe to our mailing list and be among the first to hear. Thank you for your time and your interest in the IQVIA Institute. If you have feedback or want to get in touch, you may reach us at any time at info@iqviainstitute.org. Here's wishing you a positive close to 2024 and all good things in the new year.